Activate Live is about to begin. Coming up next, we'll talk organizing with IAM Organizing Director Vinny Addeo. Activate Live starts now.
Activate your voice. Activa tu voz. Activate now.
Speak up. Speak out. Get involved. Get involved.
Engage-toi.
Take action.
Aktiviere deine Stimme.
We're union and we're proud.
Welcome to Activate Live. I'm Tanya Hutchins, coming to you from the Machinists Union headquarters in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. First, let's tell you what's happening in our union and beyond. IAM members at Alaska Airlines overwhelmingly ratified 2 contracts at the Seattle-based carrier. The contracts cover 5,000 clerical, office, passenger service, reservations, and stores workers. The 5-year accord runs through September 2024 and provides pay increases between 10 to 16% on average, increases in 401k contributions, work protections, and decreased employee contributions toward health premiums. Well, the Southern States Conference took place in San Antonio, Texas, with the theme, America Doesn't Work Without Workers. Members talked about education and advocacy for machinist councils, apprenticeships, and more. You can see more of the photos on the Southern Territories Facebook page. Well, Labor Day is coming up Monday, and we hope that you make it union-made. Support your union siblings who work for these companies. Buy union on holidays and every day. And there's still time to get your commemorative pin that says Union Strong from Union Plus. Just go to unionplus.org while supplies last. We hope they still have some left. Well, the IAM represents 35,000 Boeing workers across the United States. In May of 2018, a majority of workers at the company's North Charleston, South Carolina plant voted to join the Machinists Union. The collective bargaining unit included 176 workers. Well, a lot has happened since last year, and joining us now to give us an update and set the record straight is IAM Organizing Director Vinny Addeo. Thanks for being here, Vinny.
My pleasure, Tanya.
Tell us first, what is the job of a flight line worker?
A flight line worker at Boeing in North Charleston, we have both flight line technicians and flight line technician inspectors. These employees possess what we call FAA airframe and power plant certifications. And what those certifications do allow these workers to sign off airworthiness releases on Boeing's aircraft. So when the aircraft comes off the production line, where most of the workers are working on production, it is then sent out onto the flight line. And on a flight line is where the flight line technicians and inspectors prepare the aircraft for test flights with their test pilots. So these particular employees are very vital to the operation, the safety operation of the aircraft, and actually the only employees who could sign airworthiness releases to release the aircraft for flight.
So they're making sure that this airplane is okay before all the passengers get on and fly away.
Correct. They are the backstop for the company and you know, ensure the safety, and also make sure that the company is in compliance with the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration.
Now, they voted to join the IAM. They're supposed to get a first contract. In a perfect world, how is it supposed to go when you get your first contract?
Well, usually at the conclusion of a National Labor Relations Board election, it's usually 7 to 10 days. It takes the Labor Board to grant the certification of representation, which actually what that is, it certifies the election results. So once we get that, we usually send information requests out to the company to provide us with all the vital information that we think we need to prepare ourselves to enter negotiations with the company. So once we send out these information requests, we usually takes a while. The company sends it back. We digest all that information and prepare our negotiating committees to enter negotiations with the company. And of course, what we do is we solicit proposals from the new members that we just organized, and we take feedback from all the potential new members, and no matter what it is, and they're allowed to write anything down that they would like to have in their collective bargaining agreement. And then they elect a negotiating committee. And then that negotiating committee will screen all the proposals from the workers. We put them together in a professional format, and then when we sit down across the table from the company, these are the proposals that we submit to the company for our negotiations.
Now, what happened in South Carolina?
The exact opposite,
Of
unfortunately.
everything that you just said, yeah.
Unfortunately, Boeing has continued to try to delay the process and deny their own employees their rights under federal law. They have continued to do everything they can to prevent these workers from sitting across the table and negotiating the first contract, which we believe under federal law, right now, Boeing is not in compliance. We have requested to bargain with them, and they have continually denied it based upon they are contesting that the bargaining unit that we organize is not an appropriate unit under the National Labor Relations Act. Now, that particular appropriate unit has been confirmed by the regional director down there who oversees the operation of the National Labor Relations Board, but they have regional locations, and they have a director at each one of these regional boards. And this regional director wrote a very thorough, ironclad decision stating that this is an appropriate unit. And that was since the election in May of last year. So right now, that decision is being held up at the Labor Board in Washington, D.C., and we are patiently awaiting that. And we feel that we will prevail on that because if they've issued a decision based upon the law, we are very certain that they will be granted their certification, and then we could move on to negotiate with the company.
So part of the process was filing unfair labor practice charges, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so, and it deals with illegal employee termination. You know, what kind of retaliation, there was retaliation, obviously, against these flight line workers?
Correct, but initially, the initial unfair labor practice charges were filed against Boeing because their refusal to bargain, sit down and collectively bargain with us. In most anti-union campaigns that companies run against the workforce and against the union which they're trying to bring in to represent them, most of the anti-union activity takes place prior to the election. And this is done to actually chill the workforce and to scare people and coerce them into voting no against, basically against themselves. Because I believe when a worker votes no in a representation election, they're actually saying, I agree 100% whatever this company has given me in regards to wages, employment, benefits, work rules, I agree with everything 100%. I always tell potential members, if you have any disagreement in anything in your company handbook, the only way to correct that is through a collective bargaining agreement. So in most cases, again, the company tries to utilize their anti-union tactics prior to the election to scare, coerce, and prevent employees from voting yes in their election. In this particular instance, Boeing has taken the liberty post-election to continue their anti-union campaign and to try to, and the reason why they did that, and the reason why they're continuing to do that, is because they saw the victory with the flight line employees as a major victory on their property in North Charleston. And all they're trying to do is deter support from the rest of the campus, because there are a lot of other employees in a production facility. There's probably another 2,000 employees in the North Charleston campus that we are looking to bring into the union also. So what they wanted to make sure that this particular positive union step forward would not spread to the rest of the employees. So what they have done is they have singled out pro-union employees who are very outspoken supporters of the union, and they'll say, we'll make an example out of these people, and this will scare everyone else away. And that's their tactic that they're using.
And companies, including Boeing, have hired legal firms and other types of firms in these anti-union campaigns. We saw that, like you said, before the campaign started. Luckily, we have these workers who are hanging in there with us. They haven't given up. They're still fighting for our union. What is your message to them? Because I know time has gone by, but to the members in there hanging in there, what is your message that you want them to know?
First of all, number one, I'm extremely proud of them for standing up to Boeing. Not only standing up to Boeing, but standing up to all the anti-union sentiment surrounding that campus, not only from Boeing itself, from the elected officials in South Carolina, who also do not support those workers' right to form and join a union. They acted just like any anti-union consultant would, and they also disparaged these workers' chance to come forward and have their voices heard. So, but again, I'm so proud of these workers to stand up not only to the company, but to the elected officials down there and stand up for their rights. And I can honestly say that I don't take it for granted for 1 second, because, you know, it's very difficult for us to continue to tell these workers, hey, listen, your day is going to come. Don't worry, we're waiting. We're hearing that the labor board's going to issue a decision very shortly. And here we are, over a year and a half almost, we're still waiting for justice to be served when it comes to the board issuing their determination on the bargaining unit.
How can union members help and lend their support? What can we do?
Well, we have been doing everything we can. We have some representatives down there. One of the Grand Lodge organizers, Mike Evans, and also Grand Lodge representative Bobby Barnwell from the Southern Territory do an outstanding job trying to keep everyone in a positive attitude. And these particular determinations that we got last week from the regional board on some of the unfair labor practice charges that we filed, especially on 6 employees that the company unjustly fired around the holiday season last year in the beginning of December. So just last week, we received these positive determinations, I believe, are kind of landmark decisions, again, especially with a powerful company like Boeing, and in South Carolina, which has the lowest union density in the United States of America. So for these determinations to come through, and 9 out of 10 of them were in favor, in favor of the union, in favor of the workers, and 5 out of 6 of them were issued what we call 8A3 determinations, which is discriminatory enforcement, which means basically that the company violated their own employees' rights to join or form a union. And that's one of the strongest determinations that the labor board can issue against the company. And now the NLRB in Washington will proceed and file complaints against Boeing for this. And we also seek in the next step, which is what they call 10J, injunctive relief, which will bring the employees back on a property immediately while we're trying to work this situation out. So, and also in addition to the 8A3, they also issued 8A5, which is refusal to bargain. So the fact under the law that we won the representation election, even though Boeing is refusing to acknowledge that, the company just still does, under the National Labor Relations Act, have the obligation to negotiate with the union on any kind of disciplinary action against any employee, which they have not done.
So what is the next step? Like, is this going to go to a trial? What does the NLRB call it?
Well, right now, again, I'm not on the legal team.
Yeah, that's true.
We have a whole legal department downstairs here that are doing an excellent job.
I put him on the spot. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't want to speak out of line. I don't want to sound like an attorney. I'm not. I'm a union organizer. Any of the proper proceedings and determinations, I'll leave that up to our legal team. But basically, right now, we are preparing again, and the legal team is preparing for us to move forward and for the National Labor Relations Board to tell us which way they're going to proceed with filing complaints against Boeing for these unfair labor practice charges that came in our favor.
Now, we've been talking about Boeing. In a lot of contract negotiations and in organizing first contracts, there are a lot of issues, like you said, that the workers may bring up. What are some of the major issues that come up it could be Boeing throughout the country, the ones that we represent, in Washington State as well. What are just some of the general issues that come up in the workplace?
Well, I can honestly tell you as an organizer for many years that the number one reason why workers organize is respect in the workplace. Of course, wages, benefits, work rules, they're all part of it. They all play an important part of getting people together to step forward for themselves. But what I have found in my experience that 95% of the time, workers come together because they're being disrespected in the workplace and they want to be treated fairly. That's it.
And you know what? We always say, like in a perfect world, we probably wouldn't need unions, but we don't have a perfect world. And that's when they call us, right? When there are issues that need to be resolved and they aren't able to do it on their own. So I'm glad that we're able to join together in union, that's why that word is there, so that we can make positive changes in every employment location if we can.
For sure. I mean, listen, there are employers that we have great relationships with, and they like to treat their employees well. And we still have a collective bargaining agreement, and we come together every 2 or 3 years whenever the agreement is coming upon its expiration. And we're able to sit down and negotiate a fair agreement. That's all workers are looking for, is to be treated fairly. And many employers do recognize that. And they want it, again, they want to treat their employees fairly. And we have a long-lasting, positive working relationship with them. Unfortunately, Boeing's not one of them. So, and along with several other of our companies where we represent our members. And to me, some people, they just don't get it. We can be such a great partner to this company, especially with all the issues they have going on right now and the safety-related issues with their aircraft. And I will still stand strong and say that our workers, our members at Boeing, build the safest, most sophisticated aircraft in the world. But you would think that a company who has a group of employees of 35,000 plus who work for or represented by the IAM would want to sit down and work as a partner with us. But unfortunately, their arrogance prevents them from doing that.
You know, I always say happy workers are productive workers. And I know our workers are so proud of the products that they work on and build. So yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, thinking positive and hoping for, positive outcome on this. Any parting words that you'd like to say, or any advice for someone that's going for a first contract? We have a lot of students that are in negotiation prep that go to negotiate, but I love that course, by the way, at the Wimpesinger Center, because it gives them like hands-on experience on how to prepare for negotiations, but it's even harder when it's a first contract. So any parting words of advice for somebody going for a first contract? For
sure. I've negotiated many first contracts as a business representative for the IAM, and it's very important for the business representative or whoever the representative is to actually be very upfront, honest with the workers that you're organizing, because the first contract is the foundation. We need to build upon that foundation, and we need to get that first contract in place. Of course, we want to gain everything we can in the first contract that we can, but we have to try to keep it realistic with the members and let them understand that, listen, this is the first step in the process. Many of the contracts that we have and collective bargaining agreements we have with mature contracts that we have with many of our employers have gone around negotiations for 10, 15, 20 years. So it's hard to compare a very mature contract that's been in place with a first contract. So I think one of the key components and one of the key things you need to do to keep the members in a realistic expectation is to let them know that the first contract is the building block, is the cornerstone, and we're going to continue to build upon that. And the most important things that they're going to get in that first contract is the ownership of their work, their scope clause in the contract, which everybody tends to talk about wages and benefits. But I always focused on that, that very first clause, because if you do not own the work, then the company has the right to contract out that work to any other subcontractor. So owning all the work that you're responsible for is always number one, and then everything on top of that will fall in place.
Well, thank you, Vinny. I want to let you know that we have some comments coming in, and we already have Donna Perinetti saying, thank you, Brother Vinny. Thank you for all your hard work. And there's even people giving a District 154 organizing class a shout out there as well. We have James Price saying, great job, Brother Vinny. So you're getting a lot of support. We get a lot of support for the workers at Boeing as well. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to kind of give us an update.
Appreciate that. And I'd just like to end on a really positive note here. 2018 happened to be one of our best years, actually happened to be our best year in 20 plus years for growth and organizing the IAM, and I can honestly tell our membership out there that they should be very proud, because we are continuing that positive trend here in 2019, and I'm pretty confident as we speak that we will be reporting a positive growth in 2019 also. So thank you for everybody for all their hard work and the culture change that's taking place in the IAM right now. We are becoming an organizing union, and I'm proud to be part of it.
That's what I was going to ask you about. What was it? Because some of the other union members that may not be part of our union are wondering, like, what's the secret sauce? Well,
the secret sauce is our leadership. I have to give credit where credit's due. Our international president and executive council have put organizing at the forefront. And when we had some cutbacks a few years ago in some of the departments, I can honestly say, even to this day, we are the Executive Council and International President are putting resources into organizing. And it shows because the culture is changing in the IAM, where organizing was left for a few individuals to do. Now people are excited about being a part of it. So we're excited about it. And again, I'm happy to be the director and be part of this wave that we're riding right now.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time. Vinny Addeo, he is our Director of Organizing here at the IAM, the International Association of Machinists. So what do you think about organizing, the IAM's growth, and what's happening at Boeing? Do you work at Boeing? If so, let us know which facility. Comment now to activate your voice using live chat on YouTube, comments on Facebook, or by replying to this video on Twitter. You can even comment during the replay. Well, here's a look back at this week in labor history. On August 25th, 1925, Asa Philip Randolph and a group of employees from the Pullman Company established the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters Union in New York City. It merged with the Transportation Communications Union in 1978, and TCU officially merged with the IAM in 2012. Well, August 26th was Women's Equality Day, which marks the 99th anniversary of the certification of the 19th Amendment. The U.S. Secretary of State received the ratification certificate at 4 a.m. It granted many women the right to vote, mainly white women, due to state loopholes that kept most black women from easily voting. And we got a big anniversary coming up next year. And Martin Luther King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, August 28, 1963. 250,000 people crowded onto the National Mall for the march, which was organized by Bayard Rustin and A. Philip Randolph. Well, if you're interested in taking classes at the Wimpesinger Education and Technology Center in Maryland, here are some deadlines to keep in mind. This Friday, August 30th, is the Advanced Web Development deadline. September 2nd is the deadline for Women's Advanced Leadership. Also, September 2nd, EAP4 program. Get your application in by then. For more information, go to wimpesinger.iamaw.org. We also have some state council meetings coming up. Washington State Council meets in Ocean Shores September 19th. New Mexico meets in Sunland Park September 21st. The Maritime Council of Machinists has its biennial conference in Moncton, New Brunswick, September 27th, and the Joint Dakota State Council meets in Fargo, October 5th. So we hope you got all that. Our special events, our staff conference for the IAM is in San Diego, September 8th. Metal Trades Department meets in Las Vegas for its annual conference September 30th, and the Coalition of Labor Union Women has its biennial conference in Las Vegas, October 15th to the 18th. Air Transport District 140 Convention is in Vancouver, October 28th to the 29th. I hope you got all that. Well, support your siblings. Share this video to your local or district page, and thanks to all of you who already do. See you next month.